Hi, welcome to Yenlo's webinar, How to Select the Ultimate iPaaS. Today I'm together with my colleagues Sander Wilmink and Rob Lauwboer. My name is Ruben, CEO and co-founder of the company. Before we start, Sander, can you please tell the audience a little bit who you are and what your background experience is?
Sure, thanks Ruben, and hello everybody. I'm Sander Wilmink, I'm a sales consultant at Yenlo, and I advise companies on iPaaS selection, integration platform selection. I'm also the linking pin between our sales organization and our delivery organization.
Okay, sounds great, thank you. Rob, to you, who are you, what's your background, what's your experience? Can you please tell the audience?
Of course, thank you Ruben, and thank you audience. I'm head of training services, so I train our consultants but also our clients in the use of the integration software. I'm also an integration consultant, and I also like to write about innovation, new technology, integration, all that sort of stuff.
Sounds good. It sounds like the perfect person. I know you are in the digital transformation and innovation for a long time, for decades to be honest.
Yes, that's true.
Let's not go back 30 years back in time, but you as an expert, let's go back, let's say 20 years in time. Can you tell briefly what did we experience, what are the lessons we learned in the past 20 years when it comes in the end to an iPaaS?
Well, what's the most important thing is that when we were doing that, it was still, everything was on-prem. So the servers that were your own servers in your own building or in your own data center, and the cloud has changed that dramatically. It's not only that they are not in your possession, but it's also, of course, the model that you cannot beat, because you cannot beat the cost of a cloud service when you have your own stuff on-prem. What we saw was that applications were big applications. And what we see now is that they're going towards the more tiny applications. And of course, we automate as much as we can. So it's as much automation to make sure that everything runs smoothly, from deployment to installation, automate everything. That's basically the idea.
And that was mainly due to the cloud move or the SOA move, or how do you experience that?
The service-oriented architecture made it possible that we connect systems in a very, I would say, simple way. It's not that simple. However, we were able to do it. And what we see with automation is that we can push something to one point, retrieve something from another point, move it somewhere. So that automation helps us to have a very good flow when it comes to deploying stuff, which is of course beneficial to everyone.
Got it. It sounds a little bit like API, so a good moment for me to switch to Sander. I understand a little bit from Rob where we came from. Can you tell the people why are we talking today about an iPaaS after all? I mean, I understand APIs, probably there's something to do with APIs, but can you briefly explain why we're discussing today iPaaS?
Yeah, of course. Going into this cloud era that Rob already introduced, and looking at specifically application integration, also data integration and API management, we see that organizations, they are going for not a cloud strategy, so they're going for a SaaS over PaaS over IaaS. So that is because there are a lot of more of SaaS applications available. So
hang on. iPaaS, SaaS, ePaaS, explain those verbs a little bit.
Okay, yeah, iPaaS is of course another category. But of course, if you want just your infrastructure hosted in the cloud, that's IaaS, of course.
That's IaaS, okay.
And then there's PaaS in the middle, which iPaaS is some kind of category on its own in that matter. And SaaS is of course
the application side.
The application side, just paying on a monthly basis, for instance, for your application. But because that model is very easy to implement, a lot of applications are off the shelf available
as a SaaS
application. So an ERP system, CRM system, or a specific planning application is available as a SaaS application. So companies, they can pursue a best-of-breed strategy because you can pick the right ones for your organization. But also, because application life cycles tend to be much shorter nowadays, they can just replace SaaS applications with other applications.
Right.
Your application landscape in the end is moving always, and you have to integrate all those applications today, but also in the future.
And there comes the APIs in place,
There
right?
comes the APIs, yeah.
Got
And
it.
there's
So,
some other things also. So because of the rise of low-code platforms like Mendix OutSystems, it's also far more easy for internal organizations to deliver their own apps. So you don't only have market standard SaaS application, but also internal applications that you have to interconnect via APIs or basic integration principles.
I think I get the picture. So what you say is there is a best of breed. There are a lot of SaaS applications. The life cycle of an application is shorter. Time to market needs to be short.
Yeah.
APIs is the holy grail to glue them together. And for that, maybe, probably, an iPaaS could be a solution. That's, I think, bottom line.
Yeah, would be nice, right?
Yeah, would be nice, yeah. Okay, so let's assume that's the case, right? What are the challenges then for organization currently, now these days, when it comes to APIs, for instance? What are the challenges for an organization?
Yeah, because with a large application landscapes and also large API, an explosion of APIs, so to say, you also have to maintain it, of course. So to reduce cost on that, on the total cost of ownership of maintaining your IT landscape with a lot of applications and a lot of APIs, yeah, that's a challenge, of course. And even more if they are residing in, of course, multiple applications. So that's a challenge. You also want to still, you also might have still legacy systems in place, like Rob talked about, the monolithic ERP applications. So you still have to manage those with the potential vendor lock-in because, well, it's there and it will stay there for the coming years. But you still have to integrate with it. So
it's
combining modern with traditional systems.
So the challenge is maintenance, cost reduction, technical depth, things like that.
Yeah.
Got it.
The challenge is, of course, speed. You want to increase speed. So with all those different applications, you want to make combinations of those. So take some information out of your ERP system, out of your planning system or CRM system, and combine those in one API, for example. But how to do that? I'm talking through 3 different systems.
Honestly, sounds easy. I mean, you just named a couple of challenges organization has.
Yeah.
Easy, right? It's simple to address or not. So let me ask Rob, challenges he described, it's easy for companies to solve or not?
Well, I think that you have the biggest barrier is where do you find the right people with the right skills?
Yeah, there is a shortage of people. That's right.
It's not a small shortage. It's huge. The other thing is, do you want to have people with very specific knowledge that you need only a little bit of time? So is there a better solution to do that? And finally, the question, what are you? Are you an insurance company that sells insurances, or are you acting more as an IT company that sells insurance? So if you're an insurance company, sell insurances and let the IT people, other IT people run the business.
So it's not so easy for companies to overcome the challenges Sander said.
No.
It's shortage of people, shortage of knowledge, probably, I assume myself, 24/7 operations.
Yes.
I think everybody needs to be 24/7 now these days. So these are the elements why it's not so easy to solve those challenges, right?
I would say it's very hard.
It's very hard.
And you don't have to work harder, you have to work smarter as an organization. Find a solution that solves your problems without getting more people on board.
I all understand this, right? It's actually a no-brainer. I think everybody feels the fact that there's a shortage of people and you stick to your expertise like selling insurances. What I don't get, but maybe Sander, you can help me out. What I don't get, why an iPaaS can be the solution then. So I still don't know the fit of an iPaaS in overcoming these challenges. So can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, if you as an organization go to your core competences, like Rob said, then you of course want to outsource some things that you won't do with your own IT organization. So an iPaaS of course has a model that some things can be outsourced, whether it's just the infrastructure, or it's building the integrations themselves, or it's just the support. So you can divide it in multiple levels, of course.
Yeah, so as an organization, like Rob said, an insurance company can focus on their prime business, selling insurances,
Yep.
whilst IT personnel, through an iPaaS, can deliver the right technology.
Yep.
And 24/7 operations and things like that.
Yeah. And also, of course, make
Alright.
things more efficient, because integrations in the end are also some kind of workflow that can automate things, and well, less people are maybe needed for the same job.
So with an iPaaS, I address time to market, what you mentioned, the life cycle with SaaS applications, hybrid applications. I address shortage of people. I address IT knowledge gap.
Yeah.
Right? Got it.
And also a fourth one which we might overlook is quality, because
What do you mean?
well, if you have of course a lot of applications, then you might create data silos, and to know that your data is in the right place and is also on the right level of quality. So, for instance, a name of a employee or a customer should be written the same.
Just once.
Just once,
But in every
no
system.
duplicates. So that's something that an iPaaS could also tackle.
That's of course the eye of iPaaS, integration.
Integration, yeah.
Okay, let's assume everybody needs an iPaaS. I think Rob addressed that, focus on your prime business. So let's assume everybody needs an iPaaS. I'm getting nuts here because there are many technology vendors, right? So there are, when you look at Gartner and Forrester, there are many providers of an API platform or an ESB or micro or whatever comes to integration domain, right? Honestly speaking, it's a lot. It's a lot of technology, and all the vendors say we are the best.
Yeah.
So when you talk to customers and prospects about an iPaaS, can you summarize what are the criteria or what are the topics which are the most crucial topics to select the right iPaaS of the right technology?
Yeah, like you said, when we're talking to prospects or existing customers even, there are some identical topics that we discuss, because they're all struggling with the same things, of course. And we identified 5 general topics how to select. The first one being, do you want to do it yourself or outsource? And also this can be a very plain question that you can answer, but also can be answered on multiple levels. Do you want to do the infrastructure yourself? Do you want to maintain the software yourself? Do you want to build the integrations yourself? So you can, and there are also levels in between.
On each level, make the decision, do it
what do you want
yourself
to
or outsource.
Yeah,
okay.
really, yeah, that's it. Then, of course, in relation to that, the maturity of your IT organization. Are you a IT organization that wants to do everything themselves, but also have the right people, the skills, like we discussed the personnel shortage, but also do you have the processes in place? That's also an important topic. If you can
I understand that
adopt an iPaaS or an integration platform and do it yourself or not.
Especially also with the 24/7 operations, which comes to an iPaaS, right?
With business crucial processes and integrations, that's of course mandatory.
So do it yourself or outsource. The second one is the majority of your IT organization. Other topics?
What's your cloud strategy? So we talked about cloud in the beginning, but you have multiple strategies, and well, some iPaaSes may fit better than other.
Okay, I don't understand it completely. Let's dive into that later. Your cloud strategy probably is important, okay?
Yeah. Then fit for purpose, which is a very extensive one, because that comes down to the functionality that you need for your specific use cases.
Okay.
You can also dive deeper into that. And of course the last one is budget.
Budget. So there are 5 topics which you discover that needs to be addressed to select the right vendor or the right technology for your iPaaS.
Exactly.
Okay. I think I understand. Well, budget, I think everybody understands it's no-brainer.
I didn't want to name it at first, so.
But it's an important one.
It's an important one.
But you also mentioned fit for purpose, and that's very broad. So let's go to back to Rob. Rob, can you help me out here?
Of course.
Fit for purpose in selecting your iPaaS? Help me.
If you look at the dictionary, it says it does what it's supposed to do. So you have to see what would you like to do. So if you want to do API management, that's a crucial component within an iPaaS. If you have a desire for, I would say, mediation and transformation, then you end up with another component that might have an enterprise service bus functionality as a piece of middleware. But if you do not need identity and access management because you have that solved in another part and you don't want it, or you don't want it yet as part of your iPaaS solution, then you don't select that one. So you can have a bigger or a smaller set of functionalities.
Okay. So fit for purpose, it's all about which components, features you need in your iPaaS now, but also have a look on your near future.
That is true. But
so
the near future is important. If you have kids, you know that they grow. So if you buy something that is too small, they can only wear it for a very short time. So you buy something that will let them grow a little bit. That's the sort of perspective that you also need to have when you're selecting your iPaaS. You have a strategic direction. We are going to enter a new line of business. We are going to expand abroad. Have those plans in the back of your mind in the selection process.
So again, fit for purpose, it's all about the combination of which featured components you need in your iPaaS while doing the selection.
While doing the selection, keeping an eye on what lies ahead as far as the future goes.
But this is this webinar is all about how to select the ultimate iPaaS and the underlying technology vendor. So do you actually say there is a difference between technology vendors in a set of components?
I think so. The way the approach that vendors have, it might be that some of them will say everything runs in the cloud with me, and there are still organizations that are not ready to move to the cloud for whatever reason.
That's the cloud part. I understand that part, but when you say the set of components, it's all about whether or not an API manager, whether or not an enterprise service bus, whether or not microservices, identity management, monitoring, whatever you need, queuing, right? My question is there a difference between the technology vendor here?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Some of them will work very well with one solution and not as good as with the other. Some of them have components in there that make it easy to connect to services in the cloud that others do not have. So yeah, it's not one big. They're all the same. No, they offer roughly the same functionality, but it's the devil is in the details as always.
You have to also look at your use cases, of course. But some iPaaS are more targeted on application integration, the others or API management, the other are more data integration, ETL processes. So it depends on really what your primary use cases are, I guess.
Okay, let's do some naming here, right? Because I think I fully understand you guys. So let's do some naming. Let's make it very tangible for the audience, right? So probably what we mean with fit for purpose is that, for instance, when you look, your business case is heavily on ETL, maybe a product like Boomi is a good fit for your organization.
Could be, yeah.
But maybe if your organization is more into APIs and microservices, a different technology is a better fit. That's what we actually say.
That's yeah.
Okay.
And of course, there are more variables in that selection process.
Understand
so
that.
It's not only some vendor is good at this and the other and that, but yeah, there are some things that
there are differences between the vendors with respect to the functional building blocks.
Yeah.
Hey, Sander, you also mentioned one of the 5 elements how to select the ultimate iPaaS and technology is also your cloud strategy. I think I understand, but please explain to everybody.
Yeah, you know what a cloud strategy is.
Sure, yeah.
But it could be very different per organization. So it could range from, no, we want everything on premises, or just in the private cloud, to we want full cloud adaptation, full public cloud adaptation, or even further. I have a very specific one. I want the Azure first strategy. So that's a very specific one. Or going over that, we want a multi-cloud strategy. So we don't want the old good vendor lock-in that we had with our old ERP systems. We don't want it again with our cloud supplier.
Okay, let's dive into that a little bit deeper. I think, again, I understand you completely. So the different technology vendors are a better fit or not based on the cloud strategy of a company. So when you have an Azure first, well, it's rather
kind of obvious, yeah.
But when you have a hybrid cloud, then it's different. Then you must have a iPaaS, which more probably cloud agnostic.
Yeah, because you can chop it off in multiple parts, of course. You can have the infrastructure part, which you would like to have in the cloud.
And the same with
But maybe the data part, where the actual data is integrated or stored, you want it maybe on your private cloud. So then you have a hybrid situation.
Yeah, and probably the same with an on-prem. If you still have an on-prem data center, which
or data sources that you need to reach, and due to security.
And then one vendor is a better fit than the other vendor. That's what you say.
Yeah, some have very good options for setting up a hybrid solution.
Good point. Good
Yeah.
point. Rob. So the cloud strategy, I understand. The fit for purpose, I understand. Do we say, or do you say, or what's your opinion? Is one vendor better than the other, or can you tell me a little bit about the differences, or your opinion about it?
Well, I think that with the 5 bullet points that Sander mentioned, if you have the answer to that, you can basically draw a picture of the vendor that is suited for you over the other one. Budget, of course, being a biggie, because if you have a very small budget, some vendors are out of reach because they only start at this level.
So it's not about one vendor is better than the other, it's just out of reach. Because
it's out of reach.
Budget constraint.
Budget constraints. If you want on-prem, some vendors are out of reach because they cannot do on-prem.
Got it. Mm-hmm.
So they are better from the perspective, or worse from your perspective. And that perspective, with the 5 points that we mentioned, basically if you connect the dots, you can see, this looks like a solution that this vendor or this vendor or this vendor might fit in, and this one doesn't because of ABC.
I also learned that many vendors, they do a lot of marketing with, for instance, connectors. We have a lot of connectors with regular backend systems or regular ERP systems. Does that make any difference in choosing the right one, or?
I would say that, let's say you're a hospital and you're looking for a connection to your patient's management systems. A vendor with a connector to that makes your life easy. So it is a plus. You of course have to see to what extent, what level, what version is included, and how easy it is to make changes. Can I do that, or does the vendor need to do that? So it's not as easy as, it's got a connector, we need to buy it. It is more, okay, they've got a connector, it looks like a fit. If we want to change it, we can do it ourselves. That's a number of pluses.
Yeah, but my problem with connectors, it sounds like the holy grail, but in the end you still need to program, right? Connector is just bringing connectivity, or is it more than that?
Well, it's basically a way to quickly assemble stuff. So instead of you having to dig in, okay, so what does this API do? Then you can say, this is out-of-the-box software. It has already some functionality, and it's like taking blocks of Lego, stacking them on top of each other, combining it with other mediation and transformation elements in your code, and that will help you speed up the process, because business always wants it yesterday, not in 2 weeks.
Hey, so we as Yenlo, we strategically chose 6 major players when it comes to middleware technology, right? So, of course, WSO2, we have Boomi, we have MuleSoft, AWS, Azure, and InterSystems. Would you say with that selection of those 6 technology vendors wrapped in an iPaaS, can we tackle all the problems our customers might have? So is these technology vendors the right selection for the right ultimate iPaaS?
That is something that actually is a very good question, but it's also quite complex. I haven't seen every customer in the world, so there might be a situation where they are so unique, and I mean truly unique, that these 6 do not cut it. For instance, we have no money. Well, if you have no money, then you cannot do you can do anything. Yeah.
Okay, for time's sake, I think it is a really interesting story, by the way. Thank you for that. But for time's sake, let's wrap up. Question to both of you. Sandra, I first start with you.
Yeah.
What can you tell the audience to summarize how to select the ultimate iPaaS, ...
Yeah, of course, the 5 things we discussed. So do it yourself or outsource, the maturity of your IT organization, what is your cloud strategy, fit for purpose, which we talked a lot about, of course, different iPaaSes, and budget. And I think it's a good idea to, for yourself, going over those details, over those topics, and fill in the gaps. What's your point of view of your organization? Where do you want to go? Also involve time, of course, in that, because you can choose an iPaaS now, and then maybe later you have to change it because it will not fit anymore in one of the categories.
So with those 5 topics,
Yeah.
you are almost there selecting the right iPaaS for your company.
Of course, we also offer our advisory. Me, myself, or our solution architects can also go into a session with the customer to advise them on the differences between the iPaaSes and how it will fit in your IT organization and how it will fit your business purposes. So that's also a next step a customer can take.
Lessons learned for today, go to those 5 topics and you are almost there.
Yeah.
Thank you. Rob, same question for you. What do you want to tell the audience? How to select the ultimate iPaaS?
Well, I think that what Sander said with the 5 questions, get the answers to that, have clearly stated these are the parameters that we're working with, and get help, because this is specialized work. So you can spend a lot of time reading through all the brochures and all the management or all the marketing articles, but we know these 6 vendors. So get help.
Get help.
Call us. Call Ruben.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Thank you for watching. If you like, we have a very nice white paper, How to Select the Ultimate iPaaS. It is downloadable on our website. Thank you for watching and see you next time.
Thank you.